The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
It's that time again. DB Andrew Rogers Morning Dump here at Hale Varsity Club, the only place to watch sports and enjoy yourself the proper way in life. Hale Varsity, also your one-stop shop for all things Husker coverage. First things coming out of Lincoln. Subscribe today. First month is free, but then if you choose to go with that monthly subscription, you know what to do. Go with AR. AR, the way to go.
I think you go with the guy that has commitment issues. Take the year-long subscription and go with DB.
I don't know. I like to shuffle around, get my thoughts at different places.
Every damn
different
shuffle.
Riders. No, it's all the same riders on Hale Varsity.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just totally made that up.
I was just trying to secure my spot here in conversation.
You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked.
Yeah, you know what? If you go the committed route, DB, that's a good chance to go.
Commitment.
DB is the yearly option for Hale Varsity. Now, Damon came in today and said, what a game that was last night. And I know
That's a lie.
you weren't alluding to the Creighton game. It is the Commanders game is what you were talking about coming in. Big win for Washington, knocking off the undefeated Eagles season.
Yeah, how about that? It's like, what is really going on? And now, once again, all the Dolphins are popping champagne. You know, Mercury Morris and Larry Zonka. And, you know, everybody's like, hey, we're still intact. But it was a fantastic performance. And I think, I don't know if there's a blueprint to be had because of the way that the Commanders possess the football. But, wow, was that fun to watch. I just kind of like the turn and burn, the grind. Like I've seen it done in Nebraska the last couple of weeks, and man, it adds up, and it caught up with the Eagles, who sorely were missing guys like Jordan Davis last night in the middle.
Well, not only that, every time the Eagles seemed to get closer and closer to getting back into that game or even taking a lead, they would just fumble their worries away.
How about Heineke, though? Like, is my man just a gamer? Because I'm not sure.
Are you talking about his reaction after he got hit on third down?
I'm not sure what I like about him, but he competes.
Well, and it all started in the XFL, St. Louis Battlehawks, and he worked his way up into that spot with the Commanders. And was it a playoff performance that we saw him and that really started him?
Yeah.
Like it started us. It gave us an infatuation
around,
for
diving, acting crazy,
Taylor
making
Heineke.
plays.
I mean, that's why he is a wild man.
You talk about a grind. How about 49 carries for $152?
Yeah, I was about to get to that. Not a very good average.
Hey, but it was a slow bleed, and they possessed the clock. Like that.
It's all about eating clock against great teams.
That was wild. I'm just thinking. Okay.
What are your thoughts on the turnover, the fumble Dallas Goedert had, but then when you watch the replay back in slow motion, you see the most blatant face mask that, I don't know how a referee on the sideline misses, or any referee for that matter, but this is my question for you. When you go back and look at reviews, should the NFL start allowing on turnovers only that if they miss a call like that, you can call the penalty?
No.
Yes, I think you should.
That's the most.
We're reviewing everything nowadays. You should absolutely be able to go back and say, yeah, I missed that call. That's one of the main primary reasons why you fumbled.
Absolutely not.
Oh, my goodness. You get your head whipped that direction? That's a big reason why you fumble.
No, I mean, like, that's what they're paid to do. You make those calls real time, and if you don't get to go back and say, oh, hey, we missed that.
In the MLB, they do that all the time.
I don't want to watch a game like that. Well, no, that's not true.
If you run to first base, and if the first base umpire misses the call, they go to review, and they say
that's not the same as reviewing a fumble, ruling on something that you're not intentionally trying to go back and see.
Okay,
it's not even near the. So are we on Bad Analogy Monday or Tuesday?
No. So the reason I presented it that way was I don't think all penalties should be reviewable. But
Okay.
in a turnover case,
So
like that,
so if you turn the ball over, you should see if we missed any calls because you turned it over.
No. In that case in particular, you see the face mask, you see his helmet get ripped off of his head.
Well, hey, we should have called. So where do you draw the line on a strip sack? Should you call a hold? Should you call illegal hands to the face if you see a strip sack on a quarterback?
Look at the entire field.
You're already made it too subjective.
The shot.
You already made it too subjective.
I don't think so. I think you should absolutely be able to look at that and say, no, we missed that call.
I think that's one of the worst ideas you've come up with. Yeah, it would be a waste of time, and it defeats the purpose of why you're playing the game.
I think there's people out there that would agree with me.
Sure, but what would the majority be? Let's say 2,000 people, and all 2,000 say, hey,
are we looking at
8 billion people on the world, and there's another 2 that are actually watching the sport. So you got other people with you. It wouldn't be anywhere near the majority. Just think about what you're saying for a minute. Anytime there's a turnover, you want to be able to go back and look and see if the officials missed anything that led to said turnover? It doesn't even sound right.
When you look at the players at hand, yes, I think you should.
How would you even present that to the Rules Committee?
Well, if you're in
hey, guys, listen.
at hand,
these turnovers, I know that for 200 years of playing football, we talked about turnovers being the most important thing in the sport. But let's go back and add this little caveat. If there's a play that an official missed, then I think we ought to go ahead and be able to enforce that during the replay if we happen to catch that. Replays will take 15 minutes.
They already do. They take forever right now.
Man, what in the world is going on?
Might as well look at everything.
Part of competing and having real life things happen is those things are going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm with you there.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about if you were to fumble and then get your head ripped off, should that be able to be enforced as a penalty?
So how is that any less important than, let's say, Josh Allen getting tripped on a sack that wasn't called, and the Bills have to give up the ball, which is in essence a turnover, which does not give them the chance to win. Josh Allen was clearly tripped. Nobody went back and reviewed that play.
Yeah.
So, where do you draw the line?
It's a good point. I'm with you there.
I don't know. I just
in a case I was making though.
I'm sick of Pandora.
His turnovers
and I'm tired of her box.
But so turnovers just automatically get reviewed, right? That's the only reason why my case makes sense opposed to the Josh Allen one.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying how do you I understand that point, right? Okay, hey, listen, turnovers are reviewable just like scoring plays. But again, so if a guy scores, right? He reaches over the pylon and it's a rub route, and you miss the pick call. Should I be able to call that?
Probably not.
So what makes turnovers the end all be all with reviewable plays?
I guess I just look at the situation here.
No, just prisoner of the moment. And listen, I'm a Goddard guy because my guy Dan Jackson recruited Dallas Goddard to South Dakota State. So I'm all for Dallas Goddard.
Now, okay, so let's turn this a different direction.
But I'm not for
here.
the chicanery.
What do you think about the call on Taylor Heineke late in that game? Eagles defense obviously trying to slow up there.
Do you want to know something about me?
Was it the right call? Was it a good call?
Yeah, I don't listen. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't 98.9% of the time I don't get into officiating. I just don't. I played in a game, and you got to have a little background here. I played in a game in which there were some egregious non-calls and calls made in the 93 Orange Bowl against Florida State. Fumbles, phantom clips, the whole nine. So I'm 19 years old, and it's ingrained in me. It's part of the game. You're taught to keep your mouth shut, play the ball.
You know what? I'm an official. Like I used to ref soccer and basketball, so I get it. But I can also be their biggest critic because I know what to look for in those instances.
But I mean, I just don't. I typically don't get into officiating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched a game, not that I remember, against someone in this room's New England Patriots playing the Steelers, and Jesse James was a tight end that caught a pass at the goal line, who was clearly down, reaching for the goal line. Knees hit. Let's just go ahead and call. Yeah, I'm sorry about that too. One of the most egregious calls, not in playoff history, in football's history, because of the ramifications of that game. But you know what? Once again, the Patriots are the beneficiary of a catch-no-catch fumble kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't talk about that the next day on radio. Did it bug me? Yeah. But you know what? I get it. I am. And that thing stuck in my craw. That had to be at least 5 years ago. But having said that, I'm not a go back and get a pound of flesh kind of guy. Always.
I can be that guy.
Yeah, no problem. We'll make a good tandem. You say ridiculous things, and I'll refute them.
Now, you didn't really answer my question, though. You kind of went off on a tangent. I said, do you think it was a good call?
I mean, it was – no. But, like –
I'm talking about the second one, not the first one.
Oh, yeah, that was a good call. That's the right call.
It's the right call, but
Yeah.
was it a good call?
It's the right call. Like, I don't get into this. Like, I'm not a letter of the law, rules of the law. It's a good call. Like, if you don't like it, you got to rewrite the rules. I'm willing to entertain the spirit of the rule versus the application of it. I really am. Because I see people skirt rules all the time. And I look at the spirit of the rule. You think as an offensive guy that coaches defense now, I don't think that 60% of targetings are offensive players' faults. Mm-hmm. But I understand the spirit of the rule and its application. Is it a good rule? Sure. Does it need to be revisited? Absolutely. So I mean the whole I don't spend a lot of time on over that. It's a good call.
I get that.
But what's the difference between good and right in this opinion?
Well, because he was slowing up. So I'm looking at the play. Yes, Heineke gives himself up. Philly's defense, coming in any other occasion, a wide receiver falls to the ground. Like, you go after him. You have to at least touch him while he's down. Yeah. So, yes, I know the quarterback is this sacred, holy chalice that we pray to on the football field. At least referees love to play their favorites.
Let me flip it around on you. Kenny Pickett, fake slide.
Oh, I hated that.
Okay.
Hated that.
You understood
he should have been clobbered.
You understood the rule, though, right?
What, that he was about to give himself up and then just kept running?
But you understand the spirit of why that rule was
I understand the spirit of it.
And you understand why it was a no call.
In the moment, yes, but they went back, revisited it, and addressed it.
Yeah, so they went back and changed the rule because of the spirit of the rule. So that's really the only way that you can get into right versus good, because people are going to game the system. Mm-hmm.
And I understand refs are human and they make mistakes. I totally get that.
Absolutely.
I'm all in for that. But it doesn't mean I have to agree with
how
they
you.
operate.
It makes the world go round. It makes Sasha smile, too, because we had a chance to bring up her sorry New England Patriots.
And obviously I'm not an Eagles fan by any means.
I'm not. There's only one team in the Keystone State, and they just aren't as good as the one that we lost last night.
That's why you brought up Kenny Pickett.
I mean, kind of.
Got to give your team a little bit of juice.
Good rule, spirit of the rule thing was what got me going.
Now, another game happening last night, Creighton against Holy Cross. I don't want to go too deep into this game. Obviously, non-conference game. Creighton was supposed to win. They were supposed to win by 30. They ended up winning by, 29, something like that.
Yeah, Vegas is silly.
Now, to know that, yes.
Goodness.
Different conversation, different day. This team is an embarrassment of riches, though. Yeah. They are so good across the board, so deep. We talk about it all the time, but you look at their bench, people coming off their bench, they have a starting five that could compete with a lot of Division I teams on their bench. Yeah. So that's what makes Creighton really fun to watch this year. And they're all different. Like, the starters are all different. They have specialties that bleed into each other's game. And Kalkbrenner has really stepped up from when he was a freshman to where he is now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's come back from his injury nicely, and it was well documented. The 19 made field goals. in a row. But I think perhaps more impressive, that's a microcosm of how Kalkbrenner's been able to be the beneficiary in this offense. How do you have 28 assists on 37 made field goals? I just think about that.
Well, and I love the way Creighton moves the ball to lead to those assists.
The whole good shot, great shot kind of thing, giving up a good shot for a great shot versus the let it fly.
Are you a believer in that?
Let it fly? Yeah, because I think I absolutely am. I talked about this with our football team yesterday where I think having courage and playing with confidence is knowing that failure is out there, but to free yourself from it. Like, that's really playing with confidence. And so when I hear the term let it fly, I'm thinking, okay, I'm free of the consequences that come from missing this shot. All the while I know about context within the offense, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it frees me up to go try to be great. And I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, but when, like, passing up a good shot for a great shot, are you just shoot the good shot or are you, no, wait for the great shot?
So I think when you have the trust of your teammates like that, they're not critiquing that, right? I watched the ball move 4 times.
Without a dribble?
Without a single dribble.
Right.
For an open 3 from Shireman at the top of the key. And I saw one guy get skipped over who was next to it because they threw the skip pass. I'm okay with that. 2 of those 4 passes could have been shots. But they made the extra one, then the extra one, and then got one from about 26 feet. Now, I don't know if that's a great shot. It's a great shot for him because he's open. But the team isn't critiquing that.
Yeah, and sometimes, though, that can get you into trouble once you get later on in the season when teams start to really scout you and know that you pass up on looks to get the best look. So Creighton will adjust, though. They'll do a pass fake, ball fake, go a different direction.
Yeah, hard to believe you're going to tell guys, hey, don't close out because they're going to pass the ball.
Right.
You know what I mean, right? So it'll be some give and take there.
Right. But as you mentioned, the assist-to-turnover ratio was excellent, a great benchmark for this group.
28-9.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, wowzer.
And then you look at Nemhard's 12-0 assist-to-turnover ratio.
May not
That's
see
even
that
more
again
intoxicating.
May not see that again anytime soon.
But, I just really like the fact that they trust their ball movement. They really have a lot of trust in each other, and I think that progresses them good for when they get out of the easier non-conference schedule and into the Maui Invitational when they take on Texas Tech.
Yeah, it'll be – so Nemhardt's development is going to kind of be key for me, especially for a good player who sometimes I kind of wonder about his shot selection. Only had 5 shot attempts last night. I don't think that's going to be who he's going to be, but can he settle into that role within this offense? Because it's early, and I was watching it against St. Thomas and also in the year opener where there were times where he wasn't the primary ball handler, and they used Trey Alexander and Baylor Shireman, and that offense seemed to move pretty well too. So I know Creighton has options. So I think there's some development that's going to happen with Nemhardt's game where it's not just going to kind of be a free-for-all, I don't think. He's going to have to play within the confines of that point guard role because Creighton has multiple options in terms of how to distribute the basketball.
Right. He'll have to get –
They don't have to play through the traditional point.
Correct. He'll have to get uncomfortable a little bit, play maybe a different position, more of a 2 in different points in the game.
Or really seek out great shots and not just because you feel like shooting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe
he went through a stretch early last season, about that first third where I felt like, even at the halfway point where I felt like he was shooting the ball a little too much. But to watch his growth and development, because he's such a sneaky good athlete. Right, he's kind of low-key explosive. He's got good change of direction, and he finishes around the 10 for a little guy. So I'm kind of curious to watch his evolution within this offense.
A lot like Sharif Mitchell for me, somebody that's a really good athlete on both ends of the floor, really good defensively. But for me, I love the way that he works the dribble drive, and he goes into the lane. But my biggest concern about when he does go into the lane, he's going with so much speed that people will realize that he's not going up for a layup.
Yeah, I think with Sharif, it's just for as cat quick as he is, and he's missed so much basketball.
It's not out of control.
He's missed so much basketball. I think there's this sense to kind of press and to make plays. I think he's just got to relax and let the game kind of come to him and see what happens. I thought Coach Mack did a good job with the minutes last night. It's not always going to be like that. And so I think you've really got to maximize. I think Farabello led him in minutes with 22. And in a game in which you win by 30, you can't always say that. But Farabello's a guy that I think is going to shoot the ball significantly better than he shot it early on this season. And he's going to kind of be an interesting piece because of the versatility and experience I think he brings to the game. And Creighton has a couple of guys like that. So
yeah,
so that's why the non-con for them is a little more important than, let's say, fast forward to getting in conference play and seeing how far they can go. Because I do think they have some key pieces that kind of need to come along to really give them the best chance to solidify an opportunity for a long, long run at this.
Yeah, I really liked the way Arthur Kaluma shot the ball, too, yesterday. He really felt good. He looked good out there, and when the ball was in his hands, he was open. He made Holy Cross pay. So there's just so many different names that we can just throw around into conversation and be like, wow, this guy's going to be a difference maker, or this guy's going to have a different type of role this year than last, or, Kalkbrenner is not going to miss a shot ever again because
he's awful efficient. I wish I could have been a
good
fly on the wall to see what Coach Mack was saying to him at the end of the first half. I couldn't tell if Mack was coaching him up or he was kind of seeing how he felt, but Mack was kind of on his right shoulder, and he was talking, and Call kept walking, and Mack was talking, and he, Call kind of nods his head in affirmation, and I'm just like, gosh, I wonder, because I like those moments. I don't know if it was constructive criticism. I don't know if it was attaboys. I don't know what it was, but I like watching those interactions for
the one-on-ones,
coaches and players, because there's something about like Coach Mack and his ability to just press the right buttons. He's got a lot of good guys. And unless you have a strong culture that's built on being other-centered, it doesn't work. And how about how his transfers, they come in and they flourish?
Yeah.
Right? So, I like trying to figure out how that stuff works.
You also like just coachable players.
I do.
And players that love to be educated, whether they're the best on the floor, best on the field, or they're one of the ones that, are just striving to be better than they are. Yeah. And that's what makes a good athlete at the end of the day. It's not that, you just went for 25, 10 assists, and 3 rebounds, and you had one of the best games of your life. It's what can I do better? What did I mess up on in this game? It's the ones that go back, go to coach.
That's why I gravitate towards
right.
Trey Alexander.
It's the ones, though, that
Seems
go to
be hungry to get better.
And say, DB, say I'm a high school football athlete, like DB. What'd you see on that play? Like I was in between here. I was trying to cover this guy out wide, but then I saw somebody cut middle across the way. Like, did I do it? Did I do the play right, or how can I read that better? It's the ones that even go to you and say, hey, how can I be better? And that's what makes a good team.
Completely agree.
Now, a great game ahead tonight. Women's basketball, number 22 Nebraska at number 20 Creighton. What are you looking to see out of Nebraska here, who's been on an easier non-conference schedule than Creighton early on?
Yeah, I think for them it's, can they continue to shoot the ball well, number one. And how will they utilize their bench? They've got some key pieces that I think that are kind of coming along, especially without Habe in the lineup this year, which I think will be interesting. And the role that Jazz Shelley will play, she's such a good talent, and she's capable of taking games over. I'm not sure if that's her mindset in order to dominate. So for this Nebraska team, they appear to be super close-knit, but they're going to have to guard tonight. They will be stressed. I think Creighton's, +4 in the series when these games are in Omaha between the two. So I think Nebraska will be stressed defensively because Creighton has so many offensive options.
Yeah, Jazz Shelley, really good at spacing the floor for Nebraska. She has a lot of assists, but she hasn't really been the scorer just
yet.
She's
very capable.
And she is very capable of doing that. She'll get up to that, I believe it was around 12 points per game last year is what she averaged. And currently she's only around that 8-point mark. Yes, that 4-point swing isn't a lot when you look at average, but that just goes to show that they have other weapons on that team now that Shelley is finding. Mm-hmm. One of those names being Allison Widener, who's been stepping up in a big way early on this season.
Miss Unassuming, right? Just goes to work and kind of does her job. And I saw it a lot in high school, so I'm not as surprised as some, but just so efficient. She's efficient with her motion. She's efficient with how she moves the basketball. She's efficient shooting the basketball. She has been a nice find for the Huskers.
As for Creighton, they played the two best teams in the Summit League to start off the year. One was ranked. Do you think this sets them up better coming out of the gate with matchups like these going into Nebraska?
Absolutely. And I think it's a team that's playing with a lot of confidence just because not only is it the non-con schedule, but they bring back so much experience. And they have a lot of experience. They have a lot of weapons. And I think for them and Coach Flan, who's arguably one of the nicest guys in the sport, coaching, for them, I think working out, just playing with and for one another and how to continue to share the basketball will be big for them.
Three-headed monster in Lauren Jensen, Morgan Malley, and Morgan Mogensen.
Mogensen, yeah.
I always want to put an R in there. Yeah. Mogensen. They're shooting the ball. All three of them are shooting the ball as good as anyone in college basketball right now. Add in the boards from Malley, the assists from Jensen and Mogensen, and you've got a really good balance on the floor just from three players, and they can make the other two players even better because of how good they are.
Yeah, I think that one of the primary differences between Creighton and Nebraska, and we'll see if it comes to fruition tonight, is I said this a couple days ago, Creighton women, they've got 4 or 5 girls that can lead them in scoring on any given night. And I think that'll be on display tonight as you get a top 25 matchup, which is kind of rare in this series, but one in which should be a fantastic basketball game.
And if you're not watching that game over in town, across the way in the heart of downtown, maybe you're at Hale Varsity Club catching that game on action. I probably shouldn't just assume that it's going to be on TV, but there's 30-plus TVs here. There has to be that game on TV.
And there's a ton of options, too, that I should have in my trusty Rolodex, and I don't. I think viewing options, radio is 1180. There's video stream at Flow Hoops. TV, it's on YourView, so channel 13 for Cox.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So there you have it, DB. Thank you for digging up that information.
I got you.
That's what he's good for.
I don't know about that.
That's it, right? Just looking up things.
Blind squirrel getting a nut.
Everybody finds it every now and then. You can catch us every morning here on Morning Dump. Again, if you're looking for the first news coming out of Lincoln, get that subscription at Hale Varsity. Use that promo code monthlyARDB for yearly. And come to Hale Varsity Club, and you can even get extra perks that are offered just by buying in.
Enjoy some of this good food. Goodness.
Just by buying in.
Fantastic staff, too, by the way.
This process. Absolutely. Can't talk about that enough. Other than that, tomorrow we'll hit on Nebraska against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And what we like, what we see. I'm excited to hear what Mickey Joseph has to say.
He's going to say since 2012? Really?
Yeah.
Took you to play him twice in 1 year to get a dub? It's been a while.
It has been a long time, but a capable game for Nebraska.
Absolutely.
After Jim Leonard took over, he's only 3-2, guys. This isn't a team that just all of a sudden went 5-0.
Yeah.
So
and has had his fair share of issues that he's having to handle with whether it's, tampering or playing the expectations or the interaction between he and Chris and jobs he did and didn't turn down. This will be an interesting one for Nebraska.
Let's just hear how healthy this Nebraska team is.
That'd be a start.
Going into the matchup. We'll talk about that tomorrow. He's DB at Damon Benning on Twitter. I'm Andrew Rogers at Andrew Rogers TV on Twitter. You can also follow the show at Hurrdat Sports and find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That's Apple, that's Spotify. Wipe, get on with your day. We'll see you tomorrow.